Good evening. I call the Johnson City Commission meeting on May 16th to order. Tonight we will have the invocation by Pastor Pete Tackett from Antioch Baptist Church. Would you all stand, please? And we will have the Pledge of Allegiance following the invocation.
Let's pray together. Father, thank you for the wonderful privilege we have to live and serve in Johnson City, Tennessee. Thank you for these men and women and their service to our city. Thank you, Lord, for the civility with which they do your business in a world that's filled with division and hatred. And Lord, I pray that as they do your business tonight and in the seasons to come, that they would make such decisions that would make this city and our community a better place, a healthier place, and a happier place for our children, our grandchildren to come. Lord, I pray you would give them the wisdom to know your plans for our city and the courage to act on those, and that they would rule and govern in such a way that we could live quiet and peaceable lives. And I pray these things tonight in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commission, your first order of business is consideration of the minutes from your meeting held on Thursday, May the 2nd.
Commissioners,
Move for approval.
Second.
a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, Ms. Jennings.
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
At this time, we would like to make the presentation of the employee scholarships and the John W. Campbell Scholarship as well. If we could ask the recipients and Ms. Shawn to come forward, please. Don't be bashful, moms, dads, recipients.
Come on up.
This is your moment to be proud for a job well done.
I'll just line up here across the front. On behalf of the Employee Scholarship Committee, it is a privilege to be here tonight to award the scholarships to each of you. Since its inception in 1994, the scholarship program has awarded 191 scholarships, totaling more than $162,000 to dependents of city employees. It is completely managed and funded by employees for our children. So this year, we are going to award 4 scholarships in the amount of $750 each to the following. Kayla Hilton, daughter of John Hilton in our Public Works Traffic Division. Kayla will be going to Northeast State and majoring in education. If you all smile for a picture. Can we get you to pose for a picture, sure. Mayor? Thank you. Thank you. Madison McIntosh, daughter of Mike McIntosh, Police Department, will be going to UT Knoxville, major Human Sciences and Speech Pathology. Michaela Phipps, daughter of Carrie Phipps with the Fire Department. Going to UT Knoxville and studying agricultural education. And Hunter Richardson, son of Missy Richardson in risk management and Brett Richardson of the police department. Hunter will be going to Northeast State and majoring in industrial technology. Congratulations to each of you. Our John W. Campbell winner could not be here tonight. Our former city manager, John Campbell, generously funds a scholarship in the amount of $500 for a current ETSU or Northeast State student. That scholarship is in memory of his father. The winner is Abigail Wilson, daughter of Sergeant Jeff Wilson in the police department. Thank you and congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Mayor, your next order of business is the presentation of a proclamation recognizing Sunflower Month.
All right. Ms. Hammond, Dr. Hammond, come on up. Mr. Penzola, come on up. Good, thank y'all for coming. Well, this is, Commissioners, y'all may have been seeing some kind of rectangular patches around town, and this is an exciting project to celebrate our sesquicentennial. Dr. Hammond kind of brought forward to us with the recommendation that during the sesquicentennial, wouldn't it be beautiful all over Johnson City to see these gorgeous sunflowers? And, you know, when you think about a sunflower, I would just think about it smiling all the time. So she wanted 150 sunflowers planted in various locations all over Johnson City. So you're seeing the beds being groomed right now for planting. And so we'll let Mr. Penzola and his staff tell us how that's going in just a minute. So there we go. So we have 17 public sites that have been identified all over town. Plus, once it's been heard about, the schools have called in, they've wanted to plant, some of the churches have wanted to plant. So in about how much time are we going to see these sunflowers?
They're about this big right now.
Okay,
So
so
we're hoping mid-July.
mid-July, okay, so we'll talk about that. So I had the privilege last weekend of reading this proclamation both at the library, where new sculpture has gone in the pollinator garden there, and then again at an art show that was everything about bees, pollinators, and butterflies and everything. It was gorgeous. So we wanted to do it tonight, and then encourage all citizens to get engaged with planting pollinator gardens in their homes and at their lots. So I'm proud to read this. Whereas flower pollen is nature's most nourishing superfood with many health benefits, and whereas pollinators include honeybees, bumblebees, butterflies, flower beetles that help bring about fertilization in flowers, and whereas essential pollinator populations are threatened by urban and suburban development and the use of harmful herbicides and pesticides limiting floral resources. And whereas native to North America, sunflowers are annual plants with daisy-like flower faces of bright yellow petals and brown centers that ripen into heavy heads filled with edible seeds. And whereas sunflowers grow to over 16 feet in height and turn their happy flowers to follow the movement of the sun across the sky. And whereas sunflowers attract honeybees, birds, and other pollinators, now therefore I, Jenny L. Brock, Mayor of the City of Johnson City, do hereby proclaim May 2019 as Sunflower Month in Johnson City, Tennessee, and urge all residents to plant sunflower seeds to support our pollinator community. So I'm first going to turn it over to Dr. Hammond and let her talk about why she brought this to us. I'm going to show the sunflower poster here in just a minute, and then Phil, to have your group kind of talk about what it's been like to plant these pollinators all over town.
Well, I brought this project forward because Jenny Brock became mayor. And I felt like I had a person who would be really receptive to the idea of pollinator gardening, and she is. And that's really how this all took off. We selected the sunflowers because they are an annual. The seeds can be eaten by birds after they dry, but if you don't want to maintain the garden over the long haul, you don't have to. What we're hoping, though, is that Phil Penzola and his staff will get really interested in this, and that next year we'll be planting some others, perennials and annuals, and that this will become something Johnson City does routinely. So we did this as a way to get started and to get people interested in pollinators and in beautiful flowers all over town. And thanks to Jenny and to Mayor Brock and this staff right here, we're doing it.
Thank you. Phil?
You want to say anything?
I brought the two principal folks from our department who do the work, and I appreciate all that they do. We have Derek, who's his crews are managing the project and installation. Jeremy actually did the design work on the signage that you see. It's just beautiful work, so he's been a great addition for the department. I will say that when we didn't know anything about this, and then Ingrid and Catherine came into the office, and it's kind of hard to say no, as much as we tried. And but we're happy to do it, and we recognize that pollination's a critical issue in communities across the country, and we're just trying to do our part to let people know that It is the backbone of our food source, and the more that we do, the better off that we are as society. Jeremy, Derek? We don't hire people that talk.
I drove by Topper Academy on my way in.
They're already coming up, yeah. Can we see there we go. Now, these plaques are posted at each one of the gardens, or
One that size.
one this size? Okay. So isn't this great? It's a great design. Did you say y'all designed this?
It's a combination of What's the Buzz logo. What's
Okay.
the Buzz is a nonprofit promoting pollinator habitat. So What's the Buzz logo imposed on the sunflower with the Sesquicentennial logo too.
Right. Well, it's quite lovely, and they framed this one and presented it last weekend, so it's great. I can't wait to put it on my wall at home. But as Judith would say, so goes the bee, so goes us. So we want to do everything we can here in Johnson City. Our resident flower expert on the commission is Commissioner Wise. The only thing he ever posts on Facebook are flowers in his garden with the scientific names to those, so we want to thank you for that. And Vice Mayor, I'm sure we can get you some sunflower seeds.
I actually have some,
You
and we
have
will
some.
plant them this weekend.
Very good, very
Yes.
good, okay. So here's the proclamation. Dr. Hammond, thank you so much, and we can't wait to see them in bloom. And thank you, gentlemen, for all you've done to make this happen. Mr. Pinzola, thank you.
Your next order of business is consideration of a temporary occasion license for the Johnson City Morning Rotary Foundation to serve beer at Founders After 5 on May 24th and May 31st. The appropriate reviews have been made, finding no disqualifying factors. The recommendation is for your approval.
Good evening, how are you today? Thanks for
Doing well.
coming. Would
Thank
you
you.
state your name and address, please?
Samantha Dishner, 1207 North Rome Street, Johnson City, 37601.
I understand y'all know each other from Rotary here?
We do.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Have you read the rules and regulations about the sale of alcohol in Johnson City?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you agree to abide by those?
We do.
Very good. Commissioners?
Move approval.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or questions? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Felton?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes. Would you like to tell us about the Founders After 5 that where your organization will be? And
We're going to do the May 24th and May 31st event, and we're raising money to be able to do community service work in our community.
very good. Well, I did attend this past Friday night, and it was the biggest crowd I've ever seen, so be prepared.
We bought more squares to be able to swipe cards.
Faster next time.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
very good.
All right.
Well, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
Your next order of business is to consider a special event permit requesting street closure from the Johnson City Public Art Committee to accommodate the Art Struck Festival to be held on Saturday,
28th September.
September 28th. Yes, mine didn't just said Saturday 28th. Saturday, September the 28th, this will be a closure of Commerce Street from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. on that date. They will be utilizing tents and other temporary structures. Beer will not be allowed within the area. The appropriate reviews having been made, the recommendation is for your approval.
Good evening. If you'd just state your name and address, please.
Good evening, I'm Chastity Hathorn. My address is 120 West Holston Avenue, Johnson City.
Okay, we'll take care of our business, and then you can tell about the event in just a minute. So, Commissioners, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes. Okay, if you'd like to tell us about the event, and you're on TV, so a lot of people are going to be seeing this.
Well, Johnson City Public Art wants to hold a one-day arts festival on Saturday, September 28th, beginning at 10 a.m. and ending at 9 p.m. The festival will be held in Founders Park in the amphitheater stage area. Art Struck is an effort to celebrate, support, and honor the arts community. It will include work from artists across the region In addition, local arts organizations will offer information, demonstrations, and art activities suitable for both children and adults. And one of those is a puppet march.
Very good. Well, this is exciting. I think, you know, we have a lot of athletic events that take place in Johnson City, but to see what the art committee has been doing to bring more art into our city has really been such a positive thing. I get comments from citizens all the time. So thank y'all for doing this. And this festival should be something that I think we'll have a tremendous amount of turnout for. So we're excited about that.
Well, thank you guys for being excited for us. We're excited. So thank you.
And Mr. Pinzola will publicly thank you as well for your leadership with the art committee and the way downtown is looking. I think on Saturday we'll be unveiling another project that will have the panels, the art panels that our students, young people have done here in Johnson City. So we'll really look forward to that on Saturday morning. Thank you so much.
Mayor, your next order of business is consideration of the consent agenda.
All right, commissioners, Commissioner Calhoun, anything you would like to pull?
I'd like to pull A5, please.
A5, okay. Vice Mayor?
I have nothing.
Okay. Commissioner Hunter?
No, ma'am.
And Commissioner Fowler?
None others for me.
Okay. So A5, Mr. Stahl, are you going to brief us, please?
Yes, Mayor, I'm pleased to report that in accordance with the agreement of conveyance, which the City Commission and the RNG partners entered into last year regarding the development of the Tannery Knob mountain bike project, part of that agreement required that once the project was completed, that all invoices for the design and construction be submitted for considerable reimbursement by the City Commission. We have actually received those invoices, and these invoices total $540,241.40. We recommend for approval by the Johnson City Board of Commissioners. And just to make a note, this was obviously nearly $200,000 less than your agreement that had a maximum stipulated amount about $732,000. So this came about $200,000 less than projected. And with the documents in order, we recommend approval.
Any questions of Mr. Stahl before we make any comments? Everybody good? Thank you, Mr. Stahl. We appreciate it. Any, since you pulled this, any comments you might have?
A couple of comments. One, I think this is a tremendous example of a public-private partnership that's really going to be something that jumpstarts an already active environment in mountain biking, and anybody that's ever been to this site on Tannery Knobs has to be impressed. And I think your problem is going to be, is it big enough? And the traffic that's going to be up there, which is a real good problem to have, and actually is just representing myself as a commissioner, I'm appreciative of the parties involved to make this happen.
Anyone else? Well, I'll just add a notation. Actually, I have a question first. Mr. Peterson, we'll have, once we pass this on the consent agenda tonight, we'll have one more step, and that's closing on the property.
Yes,
When do
ma'am,
you
the
think that
attorneys
might
are working
occur?
to get that set up next week.
Okay, very good. I know there are a lot of people who are waiting. We're excited about it.
Some aren't waiting.
The other way up there. So, but the other thing that the public needs to understand, and we need to recognize tonight, and Commissioner Calhoun, you've pointed this out, a public-private partnership. And we have Grant Summers sitting in the audience tonight. But when all is said and done, besides this best practice mountain bike park that there's probably not anything quite like it anywhere else because of its proximity to our downtown and the fact that it's a couple of blocks off the interstate. It's going to be so accessible. But the fact that the land is being donated to the city for public park. So we will have that in perpetuity. So we're so appreciative. And so when we plan the big grand opening, I guess we'll probably have a soft opening for that, but a big grand opening, we certainly want to recognize what you and your father and all your organization has done for the citizens of Johnson City, and we thank you. So it's going to be a great day when we open it up. Thank you so much. Okay, is there a recommendation to pass the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do you have anything you want to say? Would y'all want to say anything by chance? Good? I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
All right, your next order of business is consideration of ordinance number 4690-19. An ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2019 budget passed by ordinance number 4660-18. This is a reallocation of some existing funding and supplementing with additional funding your 2019 fiscal year budget. This will cover some capital projects for schools as well as some capital project facility projects that we've got. We would, this is public hearing and first reading.
All right, well, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone to speak for or against this ordinance? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners?
approval. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of a resolution, the Naduku annexation. A resolution to annex certain property located within the 10th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee, adjoining the present corporate boundaries of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to incorporate the same within the corporate boundaries of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee. Said property being known as the Naduku annexation, to zone said property R2 low-density residential as described herein, and to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee accordingly, being a part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, is ready for your consideration on second reading and
So?
public hearing.
Okay.
Commissioners, before you is a request to consider annexation of this piece of property on Claude Simmons Road, 519 Claude Simmons Road. It's currently a vacant property, and it's within the planning region of the city of Johnson City. It adjoins city limits, and as such, it qualifies legally for annexation. The property owner intends to construct 17 single-family residential lots on this property. Staff has done a fiscal impact analysis. Estimated net fund initially will be in the blue, $35,000. Estimated recurring net fund, $75,000. The difference essentially comes from materials agreement for water and sewer for the construction of the subdivision. For plan of services, the property adjoins utilities, Johnson City utilities. There is water that adjoins this piece of property, and there is sewer on Claude Simmons Road. So what the developer will basically be doing is extending the water and sewer lines into this piece of property during the construction. The Planning Commission has, at its meeting on April 9, recommended approval.
Before we open public hearing, are there any questions to Hassan? Okay. I will open the public hearing. Is anyone here to speak for or against this resolution? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners?
Move for approval. Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun? Yes. Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Your next order of business is consideration of ordinance number 4688-19. An ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, being part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, entitled an ordinance to adopt a code of laws and ordinances for the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to repeal all laws and ordinances in conflict therewith, and amendatory thereof by assigning a R2 low-density residential to certain property within the 10th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee, known as the Naduku annexation, is ready for your consideration on second reading and public hearing. This ordinance assigns the zoning to the property that you approved in the previous resolution for annexation.
Son?
Mayor, Commissioners, the Planning Commission considered the assignment of the zoning district to this piece of property and determined it appropriate that the adjoining R2 zoning district, which is the zoning district for the Alexander Grove subdivision and the Strawberry Field subdivision across Claude Simmons Road, could simply be extended into this property. All of them are single-family residential subdivisions of comparable size. And the plan that the developer has proposed will be in line with the R2 zoning district. The Planning Commission at its meeting on April 9 recommended that you assign the R2 zoning district to this property.
Good, thank you. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against the ordinance to assign zoning to this property? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners?
Move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of a resolution dealing with the Cooper annexation. A resolution to annex certain property located within the 11th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee, adjoining the present corporate boundaries of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to incorporate the same within the corporate boundaries of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, said property being known as the Cooper annexation, to zone said property R4 medium-density residential as described herein, and to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee accordingly, being a part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, ready for your consideration on second reading after public hearing.
Mayor, Commissioners, this request is to annex two pieces of properties, 280 South Pickens Bridge Road and 278 South Pickens Bridge Road, into the corporate limits of Johnson City. Each of these properties currently has a multifamily apartment on it, 4 units on each of these lots, total of 8 units. And the developer intends to construct 2 other buildings of comparable unit, 4 to 8 units behind the existing buildings. Staff made a fiscal impact analysis of this annexation request, and the net revenue will be $13,655 recurring. Utilities are already available to this property, both water and sewer. As a matter of fact, the existing properties, both lots already have city water and sewer. The Planning Commission at its meeting on April 9 recommended approval.
Very good. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this ordinance? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
The next order of business is consideration of ordinance number 4689-19. An ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, being part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, entitled an ordinance to adopt a code of laws and ordinances for the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to repeal all laws and ordinances in conflict therewith, and amendatory thereof by assigning an R4 medium-density residential to certain property within the 11th Civil District of Washington County, Tennessee, known as the Cooper annexation, is ready for your consideration on second reading after public hearing.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is a request to assign the R4 medium-density residential district to the 2 pieces of properties on South Pickens Bridge Road, 278 South Pickens Bridge Road, and 280 South Pickens Bridge Road. This area, the future land use map designates it for residential uses. The land uses are varied in this particular area. The north and western section of South Pickens Bridge Road is essentially single family, while the eastern and southern section has mixed uses ranging from churches, there's a semi-public uses, to multi-family apartments. The Planning Commission examined the character of this area and determined that the R4 zoning district will be appropriate for this property and will be compatible with the character of the area. At its meeting on April 9, 2019, the Planning Commission recommended that you assign the R4 zoning district to this property.
Thank you. I will open the public hearing on the zoning request on this property. Is there anyone to speak for or against it? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Commissioners?
To approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Your next ordinance is number 4687-19. An ordinance to abandon existing water and sewer easements and to accept the dedication of new easements upon the terms and conditions contained herein, and repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, is ready for your consideration on third and final reading.
Commissioners?
Move for approval.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
This takes you to other business, with your first matter being consideration of a change order number 7 on the King Creek Basin project in the amount of $471,620 for the construction of the History Circle as a part of the Sesquicentennial project. This will be a change order with Thomas Construction Company, as we have a open contract with them for work that they have previously done on the King Commons project. As further information, we did bid this project about a month ago and received no bids. And we were fortunate enough to have an open contract where we could go back and negotiate with Thomas Construction to get them to do part of the work. Part of the work will be done by Public Works crews and others, and there are significant donations by some local vendors in terms of concrete and those types of products. So the change order is $471. Additionally, there is $150,000 that is budgeted for an art piece that will go in the middle of that. That process will be ongoing over the next month or so, and you will be brought forward with a recommendation or a selection opportunity to choose what the art piece in the center of this project will end up being. Phil, have I forgotten anything? So this is, you currently have a balance in what you've got budgeted for the Sesquicentennial project that will cover this and the art piece, and leave money for the future construction of the playground area that's scheduled across the street. The workload of Public Works, it's going to be probably winter time sometime before we can move in there and start working on the playground area. With the street construction that's now underway and that's on the schedule, we just won't have time to move Public Works in to do the playground area. And we will get into that as quickly as possible, but we want to make sure we get the History Circle completed and ready for the December 1st celebration.
So just a question, if this passes here in just a minute, when do we expect work would start on the History Circle or the Legacy Circle?
I think we're scheduling a groundbreaking the week of June 10th. Keisha should be getting with you as to which day. I'd like to get it early in the week.
Okay, very good. Well, we want to thank, and maybe Commissioner Calhoun, you want to do this. You sat on the that committee for a while, but the project committee for the Sesquicentennial has done a lot of hard work. Do you want to kind of comment on them and what they've done?
Well, this has been months and months of work on a lot of people's parts, and I wouldn't even hazard going down the list of naming people that have been involved. I know our city staff has been right there with the Sesquicentennial Commission and the fundraising committee every step of the way, trying to get to where we are today. And we're real excited about taking this step and shoveling some dirt so we can get this thing underway. So we're coming down in the last few months of our work here for the Sesquicentennial Commission. So I think this is a real good spot to be in.
Maybe just comment on what this particular legacy project's going to do, what it is.
This particular part of the legacy project, it really encompasses a number of things. One, it's going to have an area where we recognize people who have supported the project, but it's going to be a history circle and that's not an official term, but it's one that I'll use, that in a minute you're going to see that we have vetted with a lot of different organizations, a lot of different groups to try to come up with a list. Obviously not an all-inclusive list, or we would have hundreds of issues that we would highlight in this area about the history of Johnson City. And then, as you mentioned, there will be a piece of artwork that will be in the center of this legacy circle that we'll be able to identify a little bit later on. So this is one thing that, you talk about legacy, it'll be a legacy because for years and years to come, people will come there and see what we did on our 150th anniversary and what we felt like was at least a partial list of the things that were important into the history of Johnson City.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other comments or?
Does this portion include the restroom facilities, or I can't remember? Sorry.
There are three elements of the project. There's the play area that we're putting off because we can't get to it. There's the history circle, and then there is the bathroom facility that's actually being donated. The construction and the group and the team put together. We really appreciate Mitch Cox, General Shell, Ferguson Electric, Builder Source, and Summers Taylor for combining efforts to get that project. So that's going to be pretty nice.
Mr. Pinzella, I think people are going to be so excited about the history circle and the bathroom downtown. That's probably one of the things is we need more public bathrooms, so we're going to be providing that over in that area, so we'll look forward to that. Thank you so much. Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Next order of business is to give approval to the 31 inscriptions recommended to be engraved on the stone markers that will be a part of the Sesquicentennial History Circle. In your packet is the list of suggested engravings and the recommendation from the staff. So,
Do you want to give us an introduction there?
32 granite stones that are being produced under the Thomas project. And you have before you 31, and we tried to get it as accurate of how it would read on each of those markers. So some markers may have 3 dates on them, as you can see. Some may just have 1. Solicited the input of an artist from Memphis to help us with the engraving design and the lettering and sizes and stuff. So what we're asking tonight is your review, any alterations, deletions, additions, so that we can get moving on project budget for this. We had about 30,000, so should be good.
Mr. Calhoun, maybe once again too, because you've been a part of this, how many people have been involved in vetting this list?
Well, Phil can help with this. I know that the historical group was involved in this, the Sesquicentennial Commission as a whole. The fundraising committee was involved, and then there may be other groups, and including our city staff too. I think that's about it.
Very good.
I think it's a great list. There's a lot of things included that are really important to Johnson City, and I think they've done a great job of kind of putting that together, the top 31, number 32 being when we celebrate our sesquicentennial. So,
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Keisha and I had this conversation today. 32 is on there, but typically with projects like this, we usually include a brass plaque recognizing the city commission that approved all of this and identifying the project. And my thought was, if you didn't want to do 32, or if you want to do something other than the wording that's there for 32, you can really very prominently recognize the celebration and the project on the brass plaque if you wanted to go that route. I mean, you typically recognize, the city commission that's seated and any significant designers, contractors, donors, those types of things would be an option if you wanted to do that.
But aren't we doing a donor wall somewhere that might be
Commissioner, we're
appropriate?
gonna-
We could put it on that, too.
Whoever we select for the sculpture, what we were going to ask of them, because we weren't satisfied with the type of designs that we'd seen to date, for the donor list, that may be rail, maybe, I don't know what it would be. There is also, in the design, there will be columns, small columns, that'll have lights on them that Bright Ridge will be putting in. I failed to mention them, they're big contributors. And you could be that you could put a plaque there to recognize you guys. That would probably be more appropriate at that location, somewhere on that site once we get into it. I think that'd be very, very well received.
I think that's a great recommendation to do 31 and then the 32nd, leave it off and just have the plaque for the sesquicentennial that's there.
Do you think that would we have time or opportunity to make the 32nd one open to the public for suggestion if we do it that way? And I'm just asking, maybe not. There might not be time to do something like that.
This has been going on for a while.
You obviously haven't been in many of the meetings that have been going on, right?
We did have two adjustments last Monday, let me first say that. First, on number 23, we changed that to Johnson City Public Schools integrated instead of desegregated, if you want that word, or desegregated, whichever you prefer. We took off the balance. And one of the commissioners mentioned that, and I don't have the wording unless you have it in front of you, that where the state emblem is, that's a separate granite stone to recognize the individual in our community that actually did the design work. And one of the commissioners mentioned that he wanted recognition that it was first flown, that flag was first flown in Johnson City. So we'll figure out the wording for that. Those were the two adjustments made on Monday night.
Phil, am I correct in that the design may have the ability to add things 10 years from now or 20 years from now? Are there open spots?
We'll have two open spots if you select 31. There are 33 slabs.
Okay.
Plus the one that we're putting at TriStar. So there'll be two vacancies there. If you wanted to add a couple, or if you wanted to wait.
And there's, in the future, 50 years from now, there's plenty of land around where this is going to be that other features could be added to add things in the future, I think.
You could design that in.
Yeah.
There's, it's a circular design, obviously, and you could add to it, to the back and that sort of thing if you wanted to someday in the future.
Well, I think.
I
go
guess
ahead.
I would say this is less to me about recognizing this commission or the people that have participated. It's more about recognizing the shared history of the 30-some odd blocks. And so, lest we lose, and I don't think we have, let's be clear, this is about Johnson City sesquicentennial, not about recognizing any of us.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll take your name off it.
Absolutely fine. So,
All right. One of the things we did realize Monday night is that there were a lot of people who went through and reviewed this list that are much more knowledgeable than we are. So we want to thank them tremendously for the work that they've done. Is there a motion to approve this list as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Is that with or without the 32nd? Just for my
With the two
clarification.
modifications I mentioned.
Okay.
Right? But that doesn't change the number. The number's still at 32 total, 31 in the history circle.
Gotcha.
Any further discussion or questions? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise?
Yes.
Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Thank you, Phil.
And we might mention too, in this history circle, we will be burying a time capsule from 2019 that will be opened in 2069, and it will be placed in the history circle.
Yeah, the only person here that I know that will be there at that time will be Joe.
I've already talked to my grandchildren to remember me when it gets opened up.
I
But
can make it to 99.
yeah, it's going to be a real special place, though, and I think, we're going to give a lot of great thought to what goes into our time capsule.
And the next thing that you'll be considering will be the sculptor and the artist. We did a nationwide deal and had 102 applicants.
Oh.
So they're coming in on June 7th. So if you want to have dinner with them, that'd be great. We're going to do that during Blue Plum, I think.
Did you pare it down to a certain number, or?
There's 4.
Oh, 4, okay. You said 102. I thought, wow, that's going to be a big dinner.
Yeah, we had a good committee that got it down.
Good. Thank you. Mr. Peterson?
At this time, we'd like to present the financial report for the month. And Janet, if I could ask you.
You should have available there a financial highlights, commentary, bullet list, items that make up some notable things from the past month. I won't go over or repeat the things that we covered last month, but we'll cover a few new items or updated items. First of all, on property tax, we do still expect on the current portion to just run a bit short of budget. That's just due to lower billings. We do expect to be on track with our collection rate of between 97.5% to 98%. We're running right on track to have some real good collection experience for the year. The net tax corrections, I think I reported those to you last month for the first time ever. I thought you might find those interesting. I have updated that list and provided that to you this evening. I highlighted in yellow the 4 new entries from last month, just so you'll know what changed. We actually
highlighted in yellow?
Other
on
sheet.
yes on this
okay.
property tax corrections.
Sorry. That's the paper. Wasn't
Lots
looking
of
at the
paper. We actually had a pickup from last month. So as I said, I think in the key statistics that you have, we see pluses and minuses throughout the year. We are at a net minus. As the county makes adjustments, a lot of those are some IDB projects. And then there are other small adjustments you see, but we do have a net change of round numbers, a decrease of $30,000. This is something we experience every year. So it's not something new. It's not anything that's extraordinary from past years. I just thought you might be interested in seeing how the billing changes once we do the major billing in October. There's nothing really significant that has changed on our delinquent collections or our late charge collections. Those are still falling pretty much where they were. They're tracking pretty close to budget, so don't have any concerns there. Moving on to local sales tax, you'll be happy to know that we did gain some ground with February sales tax. We actually exceeded the budget percentage for the month. So we were at 3.6% over last February, so that was something favorable we can report to you. I know we've been a little concerned about sales tax. Year-to-date on sales tax, we are up about 1.7%. That's compared to a budgeted increase of 2.6%. We're still down for the year about $134,000. But last month, we were down $149,000. So you see we've gained a little bit of ground.
Got a ways to go to get there.
Second page of your financial highlights.
And that was just primarily, I mean, where we started seeing it decline was in the December numbers, the Christmas numbers. That was down 1.63%.
Yes, we actually had, July was down a bit, and then December was down 1.6%. Actually, August, October, and February have experienced really significant growth. We've had, 4 to 5.5% growth during those months. So I also did look at the details, and we are getting internet sales. Now, as they get those to the specific location of where they're ordered or where they're delivered, we may see some pluses and minuses. But overall, we are seeing some receipts for .com orders. So I was encouraged to see that.
And do they send those monthly or?
Monthly, yes. The general fund revenues, we've collected about 78% of our revenues through 9 months of the year, although we're 75% through the year. So revenue collections are looking very healthy. We've only spent 67.4% of our expenditures, and that should say through March. The departmental spending, again, as we see most years, is well within budget. The departments are doing a really great job of keeping their cost under control. I really feel like they watch their spending and try as best they can to stay within budget, often coming under budget. The majority of our debt service payments are coming up June 1st. So as you review the financials, you will see that expenditure hit. Probably about 60% of our debt service falls June 1st. I know that we have folded golf into the general fund, but you asked for some details how we compared to last year. So I provided that detail there. For Pine Oaks, on the operating profit and loss, we're about even where we were last year. We're about 9,000 down. Sales were up, but we had some additional spending for wages and benefits, so you can see the details there. Materials and supplies were actually lower. We did have to change the accounting method, so you'll see that in the financials. You don't have depreciation in the general fund, and I won't get into any details on that because it's just an accounting method. We're going from a full accrual accounting to essentially a cash method. It's called modified accrual, but it's essentially cash. So you don't depreciate assets where golf lies now. So we had to write off all the capital assets, about $1 million. So
Is that's just a one-time number then?
That's a one-time hit.
Okay.
Yes. I think a few years ago, when we were entertaining the thought of folding it, we presented some different scenarios. We knew there would be a hit if we transferred it to the general fund. So it's a little over $1 million, and it is one time.
But that's not actually really cash. I mean,
That's not cash.
Right, that's not $1 million.
That is not
It's $1 million
cash.
on paper.
Right. That's on paper.
Mhm.
That's going from full accrual.
Mm-hmm.
But if we look above the line of the true operations, the revenues versus expenses,
Yes.
we see the performance doing better.
On the revenues, we're $18,000 better. On expenditures, we're $28,000 worse, for a net of $9,000 worse. So it's close to even. On the general purpose school fund, they, through 9 months, they are exceeding revenues exceeding expenditures by about $6 million. So I really don't anticipate, I know BEP funding will cut off here soon for the year, but I really don't anticipate any problems with the general purpose school fund. They seem to be faring very well. Freedom Hall, they deal with a mix of shows throughout the year. You're just going to have some activities that fare better than others. The revenues are down $181,000. You have some fixed expenses that are just not going to go away, you know, with the changing complexion of events and shows. So we have $41,000 in show expense savings for a net bottom line difference of $188,000. Health insurance fund, although we're experiencing a deficit year-to-date, we still have very healthy reserves on hand. So we're at 7 months for the city and 4 months for schools. Those reserves are built up over the years in order to take us through the low points. So I'm not concerned with that either. Our cash balances for all the different funds of the city continue to be where they should be, which is in the black. And we have we have the level of reserves that we would hope to have. So I thought you might like to see, since we talked about the sesquicentennial, we've been providing reports. I send the committee a report every 2 weeks of detail of the donors so they can be recognized. And there are two buckets of funds that we're tracking. One is for the capital portion of the sesquicentennial. One is for the operating portion of the sesquicentennial, which would be for the different events. So you can see that on the sesquicentennial legacy project, which is the capital portion, we have received actually cash in hand, $120,000 of donations to date. We have another $200,000 that are outstanding, and you can see that those are coming in over a 3-year period, and you can see which years those are coming in. We have issued the bonds for the capital of $1.3 million, so I have that money invested until such time as we need to spend from it. So far, we have spent $218,000 on the capital project. The majority of that has been in the design of the project, $218,000. So in summary, we have cash on hand, net cash after we've spent the design monies, of $1.2 million. We have another $300,000 in pledges outstanding. So as of today, we have the potential for $1.5 million in cash once the pledges are collected over the next 3 years. On the operating side, you approved a $100,000 budget to handle the activities and events for the sesquicentennial year-long celebration. To date, we've spent $21,000 of that money, so we have $79,000 available. I'm happy to address any questions you have, or
Commissioners, any questions? Certainly good news about our sales tax, better performance in February.
keep hoping for better performance for the coming months.
You may want to just suggest, since, you know, we talk about internet sales all the time, maybe you could line item that so we have an idea about how much we're getting back. We can start tracking
I can
that.
absolutely do that. We do
Okay.
there's about $400,000 per month in one line item that says out of state, which we get no detail for that. So there's a significant amount of money being spent on the internet.
Well, it's good news to hear we're
Getting
getting something back. We don't know if it's all we should, but you know, at least something's better than nothing, for sure.
And to what degree is the January, you said January and February were both significantly up, or was it February and March? where you were talking about like 5%.
That was earlier in the year. October, was that 5.6%?
Right. I'm thinking about after Christmas, though. I thought you cited.
February was up, we just had February up 3.6%.
Because like gift cards purchased at Christmas
Yeah.
don't generate sales tax, so you
Correct.
kind of wonder if we
Get
just
some-
aren't stretching
Yeah, get some
the
delayed
holiday
impact.
season.
Because
that's
December
a
was
big
down
issue.
1.6%, which was alarming.
Back in the good old days, before there were gift cards, it was real easy.
And people use
December, January,
cash.
February, we knew exactly what Christmas was worth. Now, some of those gift cards never get redeemed.
Right.
I forgot what the number is, but it's staggering of the millions of dollars of gift cards that never get redeemed. And of course, we get nothing off of those. What if we could get that law changed where we got our sales tax when the card's sold?
Then what if they go to North Carolina and use the gift card there?
We get the sales tax, that'd be better. Just kidding.
That's what we need to do.
It's very
Start a fight.
difficult to project sales tax collections by month.
Well, we'll just, hopefully this trend for February will carry on through the end of June, and
We are
we'll be able to
hoping.
look at our budget a little differently. Mr. Peterson, do you have some other items on there?
Yes, ma'am. The People Street project is on schedule. It's not ahead of schedule. But as of today, I feel comfortable that we'll meet our deadlines and that we'll have all that open and going for back-to-school shopping, which is my goal, is to be out of there so we don't interrupt any back-to-school shopping.
And you know that happens in July.
Yes, sir. I am
So what is
well
your-
aware that school starts about August the 3rd or 4th next fall.
When do you expect this to be done?
July 30th, or sometime probably in July. I'd say time we.
You know
probably
he
have-
takes notes.
Yes.
He's writing it down.
And, there's a real significant retaining wall over at what would be the southeast corner in front of the former Kmart. That's probably an 8 to 10 week project, but hopefully we're in a position there that it doesn't impact transportation. We're trying to get the two sections we're focusing on now go up in front of Best Buy and up that direction, and the other one between State of Franklin and People Street. That's where the majority of the traffic movement is, so we're trying to get that section done first. Yes, sir. And, of course, we've, are just now getting ramped up doing a lot of street paving. Hopefully, Vice Mayor Broyles Drive is much more tolerable.
We're loving
Thank
Broyles
you.
Drive.
Broyles Drive is great. It's no longer driving on a washboard.
We've still got the intersection to do, but we want to do that at night, and we're waiting on the nighttime temperatures to get up warm enough to where we can be successful with paving. So there's still a bit more to do out there. We just need to do it at night so we don't disrupt traffic. Trying to do that in the daytime would be a disaster. So paving is getting ramped up, which of course involves us doing a lot of sidewalk, curb and gutter repair, those types of things. Market Street out here is one that I get daily reminders from employees in this building or across the street at the chamber that it'd sure be nice to have Market Street paved. Water sewer has still got some very heavy trucks that'll be going up and down to complete the valve pit up the water tank. So we're trying to let them get their work completed so they don't have heavy trucks on top of a new street. So Parks and Recs is full tilt. I think you all saw today that we had about 1,300 children playing youth soccer this spring. Softball's full tilt. James said that about every weekend all summer is full of softball tournaments, and that Winged Deer would be busy all summer and into the fall. Fields are looking good. Been able to get a lot of repair work done on the athletic fields over the winter. As you know, we've got in our budget to replace our legacy software for the entire city. They had the initial kickoff conversation on the phone the other day with their consultant that's going to guide us through that process. So that process has started, and I think the goal is to have something out to bid late winter. And, okay, so hopefully we'll have bids to consider, and we'll know a price on what the legacy software will be probably in about 12 months. I'm going to give ourselves a cushion there. That's going to be an extraordinarily challenging undertaking. First step will be to review all of our operating procedures and policies and try to figure out what we need to modify to be more successful with software replacement, and to it's a great opportunity to look at process for us by a third party, to where we can make enhancements and efficiency improvements with our processes, process change, those types of things. And of course, we're right in the middle of budget, and certainly want to thank you all for the many hours that you have put into strategic planning, budgeting. I wish I could tell you we're going to be done in a couple of weeks. We're going to be done with budget in a couple of weeks, and then we need to go back and continue the strategic planning process and get that work completed. So we look forward to many more Mondays and Thursdays with this body and getting the people's work done. You all have done a yeoman's job of getting very significant work done in short order, and you're to be commended for it. We certainly appreciate you.
Commissioners, any comments or things you want to bring up, or anything going on? Commissioner Calhoun?
As I mentioned I think the last meeting, about concern about whether we're doing what we need to do relative to vaccinations and measles and the situation that's really escalating. It's in the newspaper and it's in social media every day what's going on. I've spoken to people at ETSU, Public Health, College of Medicine, and the College of Pharmacy, and in June I'll be bringing you a recommendation on an approach to try to take a deeper dive, if you will, at what city leaders' responsibilities are in situations like this, which will not just be one particular thing. It's probably going to wind up being something like a summit, if you will, mini summit, that would wind up with maybe us appointing a task force to recommend us what we should or should not be doing. It's not going to go away. It almost did go away, but it's not going away now.
It's back. Thank you. Well, we'll look forward to further advice on that. And thank you. Vice Mayor?
There's a lot going on in Johnson City, and a lot of it decided to go on today. That's true. And so we began our day at Science Hill for the Senior Awards Program, not tomorrow, today. And, very proud of the accomplishments of students there, and the community should be proud of the investment they've made in all of those lives. One student going on to Annapolis, another going on to the Air Force Academy. Scholarships in the tens of thousands of dollars were awarded to students, and we should all be encouraged by their prospects having been formed in their years here in our schools. Then got to go out to the Washington County Industrial Park, where a significant project was announced. The State Commissioner for Economic Development was there, as were many others interested in this project. EBM Pabst, it's a German company that's had a 30-year history in Connecticut, is building a facility in the industrial park, and their long-term plan is 200 jobs. And so that's an encouraging sign for the entire region. One interesting thing, we may have been standing in an industrial park in Telford, but what the president of the Company for North America said was what attracted them here was downtown Johnson City. So they may be an industrial park in Telford, but the symbiotic relationship between a thriving downtown and economic opportunities in the broader county are very much connected. Then midday, we were celebrating 75 years of parks and recreation here in Johnson City, and a long time commitment to making those amenities available for our citizens and our guests. And then we spent the afternoon talking about how to pay for all of it. So with that, I'll say I'm done.
Well said, Vice Mayor, well said. You might mention too, with the company that's going in Telford in about 3 years, they're going to be here in Johnson City.
Yes, that is right. Yeah, they'll have a temporary location. Their plan is, as it's understood at this point, is I think to be up and running the latter part of this year here in a temporary facility, and then it'll take a couple or 3 years before they're fully up and running in the industrial park. That industrial park was made possible. There are 2 site-ready pads in the industrial park that were largely made possible by a TVA grant that was awarded during my time on the county commission. I remember at the time that was very good news. And when those things happen, you often think, well, are they ever going to come? You know, it's great. We've now got a site-ready pad, but that still doesn't translate into jobs. Well, today we unveiled a sign and an investor and a plan and dates, and it all got started with somebody having a vision beyond the immediate here and now, and 200 people will have jobs as a result.
And the Johnson City Power Board at that time, now Bright Ridge, was also an investor in economic development in that park to make it, we kind of put the last of the money in that had to come about to make that happen. So it's a real joint effort, which is great. Commissioner Hunter.
Vice Mayor Wise is right. Today was a full day for all of us, and thank goodness there's 5 of us to divide and conquer. And we started together, we split up at times, and came back together at the end. This week, the library board met as well, and Kathy Hall, who chairs the Friends of the Library, reported that they had their best book sale ever, which was good news. And then last week, and Jenny, I think you serve on one as well, the Blue Ribbon Regional Commission, or I'm probably incorrect on the name, but some of the subcommittees, I think, are starting to finally engage, and so I went to the one I've been asked to serve on, and we're just trying to get organized for next steps, but some great people with some great ideas on there.
Work on regional issues, which is good.
And mine is, the committee I'm on is existing business development. Yeah.
I'm on outdoors. Outdoors.
Yeah.
Then we shouldn't be staying in here.
The sun's still out.
Commissioner Fowler.
We were at Science Hill this morning, a couple of places earlier for some of us, but Science Hill has their tennis team going to state. Science Hill has their baseball team and their soccer team still with chances to go to state. So they got making good strides academically and athletically both. So it was a great day to be there this morning with over $12 million in scholarship offers and money going out, and I think they've accepted over $9 million worth of those. So that's great for our city school. So.
Well, and I think too that all 5 of us on the commission were there this morning as a demonstration of how much we support our school system, and it was great to see the kind of money that our students have worked so hard to attract. And I think some of the significant numbers that we saw is that, over 60% are going on to 4-year colleges, about 30% are going to 2-year, and another 7% are going to some kind of trade school. So, very few of those students in 2019 are just going to walk across the stage with a high school diploma only. And we know that in today and tomorrow's job market, that's not a real employable person with a high school diploma only. So the school system's doing a great job getting them ramped up and ready to go. I just had 2 or 3 things, if I could. I'll try to get quickly through. We had discussed, and I see Mr. Mitchell sitting back there, so we're gonna finalize this. who's formed a blight task force that's come out of the Planning Commission, I believe, or one of the commissions. I think Commissioner Hunter threw his hand up and said he would serve on that if everybody's okay. So I just want to finalize it tonight so that we can send you on your way.
And that's the verb. I remember he threw
He
his
threw his
hands up.
hand.
Yeah, truly excited.
So you're still willing to do that?
I'm on board.
Well, I just want to add a couple of comments. First of all, Mr. Mitchell, I'm really glad you are doing this. You know, with all the investment that's been going on, particularly in our downtown area, we have buildings that are sitting there with absent landlords that live in other states, that these buildings are in such disrepair that they really detract from what somebody next door has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to fix up. I don't know to the extent that our ordinances, our current ordinances, can address some of that stuff, but I surely would like, if this commission's in agreement, that we start looking at our ordinances and what other measures we could take that could require these landlords. You know, if a building's supposed to have glass windows in the front, it's not supposed to have plywood that's there for 15 years that we have to stare at. So I would really like for us to look at our ordinances and what we can do as a commission to maybe tighten up something to hold these folks responsible. And it's not just the condition of the outside, it's, I mean, of the exterior of the building, it's the property around there. I just went out North Run Street today, and the grass around Toys R Us is like this high. So
That's hay.
but hey, it looks awful, you know. And I'm sure that Bonefish Grill didn't appreciate that, and we just have a number of vacant properties that don't look good at all. So I'm just kind of on a tear on that. I'm all about curb appeal now, and so I'm going to keep after it. So whatever you need from us, from an ordinance standpoint, I'd really like to, get it on the agenda and get it to us. But I think we owe the people in Johnson City who are making these tremendous investments and sacrifices that we can do whatever we can do to help them with that. The second thing also involves downtown. We had a really great discussion about parking the other night when we were talking with the developers that we're selling our properties to. And I took the time to ride downtown at night the other night, kind of looking at some of the parking lots that we had identified. And while we've done a great job of relighting downtown, there's some areas that we haven't relighted. Water Street is one of them. And then Buffalo still has the old lighting. We have some new parking up Buffalo, just right behind the Salvation Army. That's a beautifully paved lot. When we came downtown Friday night, my husband and I parked in it. We were the only car in there, and you could probably park 40 cars in there. It's one block from, Buffalo and state of Franklin. But we don't have any public parking signs that people know it's a public parking place.
It's closer to Southern Craft than the
It's
parking
very-
lot
it
people
is.
use for Southern Craft.
It is, and it's very convenient. We always know we can get a spot there, but it needs to be lighted better. And so if we could look up Buffalo and then up those side streets where there's more parking as well, I'd really appreciate it.
I passed that along to your other CEO the other day at lunch.
Okay.
He's working on it.
Well, I think he just needs
Yes,
to, okay. Well, that would be great. The other thing on that parking lot on Water Street, if that could be cleaned up a bit and maybe some landscaping or something to make it more appealing. Once we get it lighted a little bit better, I think we'll find more park there. And they're probably 40, 50 parking spots right there.
Yes, ma'am.
So, as you've often said, Mr. Peterson, we don't have a parking problem, we have a lazy problem.
We
We've got to
do.
get people to park out. Let's see, we have the Sorba Summit in town. This is the Southern Off-Road Biking Association, and we have about 200-plus people who've come into town for this summit, and the one reason they chose Johnson City was Tannery Knobs. And so it's going to be a really attractive place to get people here. They're meeting, their official kickoff meetings in the morning, which I'm going to attend, and then they've been doing workshops from yesterday, today, and through the weekend on teaching people how to build trails. And so I think it's been very good. So if you see them around town, they're probably on their bicycles. The thing they have already said most, they're staying at the Carnegie. And they've been to many other cities. I think you heard this today, Pete. They can leave the Carnegie on their bicycle and go anywhere and get on our trail systems. And when they go to these summits in other cities, they're having to get in their cars and drive to where they want to go to ride their bikes. So you'll probably see them around town tomorrow and the next day. So we want to welcome them here, and we'll certainly invite them to come back. That's my list, and we have had a full day today. And I have one other thing squeezed in between there too. So anything else?
I failed to mention
Yep.
that last week was the 10th graduating class of the Gatton College of Pharmacy, and the city and the commission at that time really took a chance on supporting that initiative, and it puts back in the community in this region about $35 million a year. So the investment was worthwhile. About 700 students have graduated and are pharmacists now. A little partial, a little
Dr.
proud of that.
Calhoun, that was one of the easiest recommendations I've ever made in my 15 years in this seat. Seriously. That was a great group of people putting that together. It was well vetted, and that was a slam dunk if there ever has been. And it's proven to be more than we anticipated. I mean, you and lots of others have done unbelievable good work out there to get that pharmacy school where it is today. You deserve a big pat on the back.
They got a
for that.
smart dean now. I'm done.
And I'd just throw in one other thing. It just really is a great news that Dr. and Mrs. Nolan have decided to remain here. Dr. Nolan is great to work with. He's become a good friend. He leads that institution with a fire and with an enthusiasm that is unequaled by many people, whatever their business is. And it's more than just the institution, it's the region. The university under Dr. Nolan's leadership is so engaged in so many different businesses and aspects of not only Johnson City, but the entire region. I mean, there's an excitement with football back and with all of the new programs and opportunities on campus and off campus in their satellite locations. And, I think we're really blessed that they made the decision to stay here, and I'm very thankful and appreciative of being able to have the opportunity to work with him for several more years to come, hopefully many more years. It'd be great to retire together. It'd be easy.
I think we could get a motion, a second, and a unanimous vote on that one, Pete.
think so.
Thanks a lot. Okay.
Mayor, one last thing. I would just want to say you did a great job at the State of the City
Oh,
address.
thank you.
And also to thank, your staff. JT did a great job putting the video together. The creativity was amazing. And I don't know if you noticed, but afterwards, your bike was missing, and so I took it and rode back to the office. And ever since, exactly what the Sorva people are saying. I mean, it's the way the city was designed. I mean, it's flat and easy to ride around, and so that's what I've been doing lately.
Well, thanks.
But
Yeah.
I'll give your bike back.
I have another one, don't worry about that. I have two. Thanks, John, I appreciate that. It was a lot of fun. So, anyway, with nothing else, meeting adjourned.
I've got it on the calendar twice. I've got it 2 to 4. and I've
Enjoy your
got it 6 to
vacation.
8.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoy your long evening nap.
You going out of town, John? You're leaving?
Yep, we're going
About
down
when
to the
school's
Gulf.
out?
I have it 6
Maybe a little bit more.
Oh.
They're missing all those videos. That would be when we would normally.
I think it was
Finished all their testing. I have no idea what they're gonna do.
Why do we have to keep going to school? We already had TCAPs, we're not gonna do anything.
That's right.
You may have already done this, if you have, thank you.
Oops, sorry.